We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby. Why can't you see what you're doing to me?
If it's out there, well, he's gonna find it. Well, there's treasure waiting. It's just been hiding. Yeah, you know he'll comb the beach and he'll unearth metal. Calabash digger will find something special. He'll dig, he'll dive to find that treasure. Welcome to Calabash Digger Adventures.
What you guys think about that? Don't get caught in the trap. That is the theme of tonight's live stream. Don't get caught in the trap of custom programs. Yeah, custom programs can be a good starting point, but they can also become a crutch and stunt your growth with your DEUS 2 or other machines too. So I'm going to do some shout outs. We're going to look at a live demo of the Legacy program, the Teknna program, and the Jethro program, and some base settings. And we're going to go through and talk about different settings and understanding your machine and the importance of not relying on somebody else's program that might live halfway around the world and their sites may be totally different than your site, or somebody even in different parts of the United States. If you live here, the West Coast may be different than the East Coast, or the Southeast may be different than the Southwest. And we know that the soils are highly different in those areas and that it requires different settings to deal with them. So don't get caught in the trap. That is the theme of tonight's live stream. So hold on. Let's do some shout outs. Oh, volume is low. Let me see what I can do here. Does that help right there, guys? Let me look right here. And if I have to, I can move the mic up. Let me see if, Lance, let me know if this helps out right here. I'll just put the mic closer to my mouth. So that should increase volume some. But you guys do me a little check. Let me know that the volume is good. What's going on? Sniff it out. Yeah, go for what's up. Alabama Digger speaks up on this. Are built off already great factory programs and are mainly for you. Exactly. Anyone who uses the same exact settings on every site is losing. Amen to that, brother. That is the truth. And we're going to talk about that. And there's a side note that I need to make that a gentleman made, a brass medic made on a note. And I'm going to alone setting. And we'll get to that in a minute and you'll know what I'm talking about. I just need to make a little note about that because he brought up a very, very good point about, he's even a Mind Lab guy. So, but you know, he's familiar with, in both of those detectors, a lot of this, well, 99% of it crosses over. So let's, Johnny Rum, Trevor Van Horn, Lance, time to set people straight. Yeah. And the purpose of this video or live stream is to not, you know, the people that put up these programs, I have a lot of respect for them. And one of them has helped me over my metal detecting career tremendously on one of the programs that we're going to show tonight. So maybe it works in their situations, but, you know, let's just talk about different situations and what we need to do to advance in using the DEUS 2. Carrie, don't tread on me. What's up, Fly Rock? Jay, volume is low. Let's see if the volume come back up. Sounds good on my phone. Okay, good deal, good deal. No, good deal, good deal. Thank you, guys. JC, maybe just my speaker since nobody else has trouble hearing. Let me know when I get my hands on the HF2. Well, I hope that we have some videos on the HF2 soon. I hope, if you know what I mean. But what's going on, Johnny? Johnny, I think, is in the process of getting rid of a Vortex and coming over to either a DEUS 2 or a Manicore. And I think that is a great move, Johnny. A real great move. Rhyme before Christmas and my dad's two today from he is the best. Wow, Buzzsaw, you're serious, man. Well, you've got the two best and you got your work cut out for you. I've used the Legacy for a year now here in Western Mountain, and I did have to change some, but it's found me a lot of stuff, but never any silver. Well, you know, we're going to look at the Legacy, and let me say this right here. When I show the demo, this is the context. I need to set the context. We're going to have to what's up, Gino? We're going to have to jump over, watch. It's about a 5 or 6 minute demo, but the context is this. When I'm looking at custom programs, you guys know that I relic hunt, so I am primarily interested in iron unmasking capabilities. Which program alerts me to a non-ferrous hiding in iron? So the context that we're going to look at and discuss these programs in, and it will bleed over to coin hunting, et cetera, because there are settings that make machines better on coins and settings that make it better in iron. But the context of looking at these three programs is heavily masked targets. It's two of the hardest targets that I got in my garden tonight, and we're going to run all four my settings that I use that I'm going to start naming the Calabash Digger. We're going to teach you how to set up your own machine program versus these three custom programs. And they're very, very famous programs. I mean, you see the Berkshire here, he's used the Legacy, but I'll go ahead and, well, pay attention, Berkshire, to the Legacy in the iron unmasking test that I do. Special attention to that program. Let me go on down. Yeah, Johnny, that's a good move. Wait a minute. And when you show the dime and the nail yesterday, I went out and with a silver dime and it could not see it before I put your program in. So for the last year, I couldn't find any silver. Well, in certain scenarios, how's it going, John? And what's up, Mikey? What's up, Greg? I'm going to kick over because we need to do this real quick to set up the video, and we might as well go ahead and get it out of the way starting out on this Monday night. It's raining here, and I said, well, I can't really get out and do anything. I'm not going to go diving maybe till Wednesday or Thursday. Let's go ahead and pop up a live. But let's look at this demo, about 5 or 6 minutes. We're going to come back and we're going to go through I got my list. I got my Christmas list out about magic programs. So you guys check this out real quick. And this is in-ground unmasking test with all three programs. And I'll do a little bit of narrating on a couple of things. And we check a couple of things on each program. So check this out, guys. All right, guys, welcome to the live stream. I've been out here quite a while going through these different programs and looking at them head to head, even changing the tone profiles to PWN, which I'm more used to, and I'm a lot better interpreting what PWM says over square and high square. And, this video in this live stream is not to say these programs are bad or, I have nothing but respect for the people who posted these programs, and maybe in their environment, it suits their needs. But, I've been thinking about this long and hard and, not falling into the trap of custom programs and stunning your growth and, being dependent on somebody else's settings to run your machine. Well, we're just going to look right here real quick. Let me get the GoPro fired up. I've got all the programs. I'm not, for time constraints of the live stream here, I'm not going to go through every set, and I can run through so you can see just on the front end. Everything is set up. No funky business, Jethro program. And I will say this, the Jethro program probably interests me the most out of all of them because it's built off dive. And we knew from early on when the DEUS come out, early testing, that the dive program was handling modern trash really well here in the United States. But we're going to look at the Teknna program first. And we're just going to kind of cycle through them. And we're kind of out here. We got a little high EMI today, but make sure you guys can hear that real good. Let me make sure that this mic is on. All right, it's on. So we've got a quarter here. This is one of my hardest tests in my, test garden. And this is a Teknna program, and we're just going to go the same route. Jethro program. Legacy program. Then we're going to go back to what I'm running for relic hunting here in the States. Okay, now to be fair, right there, all of these programs are running different tone profiles. One of them's running full tones, the other one's running 5 tones. I believe Gary's program, the Teknna, is running full tones. And, you know, it has a different report, but I was looking at the Jethro program, and we're going to use this one for example because this is the one that really interests me the most. What could we do to improve that? Well, maybe we could come back in here to the menu and go back up here to full tones, and he's got the offset set at 5, which I don't like. And the reason the offset was placed into the DEUS 2 was because full tones had a fundamental flaw in it, and we're going to talk about that just for a second. Had a fundamental flaw in it that when you got a super challenged mass target in iron, it tended to drag the non-ferrous target down tone so low that it's hard to distinguish between iron. Let's see if this does anything with the Jethro program. But if you're running it, this is my suggestion. Raise the offset some, even if you raise it to 20, because if you're hunting heavy iron, the machine has to alert you. Let's listen to that in a PWN profile. And let's see what we hear. Let's go back to mine. We made some changes and we'll change it back, but that's a very basic program. You know, I don't even have the machine to open up. I do run the machine at 6.4 disc some, so let's look at that. This makes it that much tougher. Now, you know, it makes it that much more, you know, prevalent of the sound, but we're going to go back to the Jethro program. What did I change in this thing? Offset. We're going to run it back down to the 5 that they got it at. So let's look at this. This is a pewter button. This is the legacy program. Nothing but iron. This is Gary's program, Teknna. And this is what I'm running. Here's the thing, and you know, when we look at these programs, I guess the first question I would ask is what are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to quieten the machine down? You know, what is the goal? But for me, the goal is to find the most mass targets in heavy iron, especially sites that have been hunted really hard. And we're going to talk about the fundamental principles of that here in the live stream and what it takes to get this machine to be at its most optimal searching condition, that where it will report back to you because you are dependent on this machine alerting you to stop and investigate these targets. And you guys can be the judge which program alerts you the best. You know, not criticizing, you know, I'm not saying they're good or bad. Maybe they work over where they're at for the type of targets they're hunting, but don't fall into the trap of being dependent on somebody else's program. Stay tuned. All right, guys, you see it. Which one reported the best? You know, the tone profiles were different, so that kind of gives a little bit of different audio, but I checked those in PWM. In Gary's program has a 42 disc, and as you guys know, that when you get a super challenge target, it'll start dropping down the ID and it'll start giving an iron buzz. So when I put Gary's Teknna program into PWM, lowered the discrimination down to 6.8, 6.4, like what settings that I use, it started hitting the quarter just fine. You raise the discrimination up, it takes the quarter out, starts giving the iron buzz. The Jethro program is based off the dive program, which, you know, the beach programs are not the best unmaskers on the DEUS 2. And here's a little funny. The general program has it's not filters that you can see, but I know this from communicating with XP. The general program is a land-based program, but it has the fundamental features or filters behind the scenes that the dive program has. Hence, just as the dive program we discovered early on, Sharpshooter Me was talking and demoing this, the dive program would handle modern trash. Hence, the general program has stuff going on behind the scenes that lets it handle modern trash very well too. Now, what happened to my camera there is a very, very good question. So let me change cameras because that is not good. Not good at all. What is going on here, guys? So, where's my cameras? Okay. I got technical difficulties. I bought a power source to run my camera and it just dropped out. So I don't know if the power source kicked off or my camera overheated. Okay, not good. Not good at all. I got to unplug it before I burn up a multi-$1,000 camera. That's not good, guys. That's not good. I guess it's the Insta360 link, but in front of me, let me lower down the brightness on it just a little bit to tame it down, and we'll run with what we know or got. So maybe it's back to the Insta360. But let me just scroll down real quick and talk about this just for a moment. You know, I don't base program success off of fines. As you guys know, I test them head to head and, you know, basically look and see how they do. But the importance of knowing your settings is being able to adjust on the fly that when you come into a different environment and when you put a custom program in and you just start, you know, lining your remote. And I've done this. I've been guilty of this with the DEUS one and lining my remote with custom programs. You know, you could just jump to one to the next and this, that, and the other and stunt yourself on actually learning what the settings do and making the adjustments for yourself for your situation and under your circumstances. And I'm going to get to that in just a minute. But I want to address what Greeny Meanie said right here. They contacted me, asked me to help them to resolve that locking up problem, to look at some beta versions for them or a beta version for them. This was probably 2 days before the release. I reported back to them, and you guys can go check out Mental Metal's channel. You can see what's going on with the 9.90 update. I'm not making any videos on it. I'm done. They sent me the 909 update before release. I looked at it, and you see what you got. Go, and there's a plug, Mental Metal, for the video that you did on the Vortex. You guys go look at it. I'm done with that. You can see what it's still doing and the problem that still plagues it. They released a video today on the Garrett website showing that it was not technically locking up, but swing it over a piece of iron and a coin out laying beside it. Tell me what happens. Go watch Mental Metal. He'll show you guys. I'm done with it. No more Blue Machine. Actually, I'm going to sell it. I'm done with it. I'm done. Anyway, Greeny Meanie, thanks for asking that question. It has a specific, yeah, I think that one was sensitive is what it was built off of, called the Fisher program. Daryl says he uses a sweeper program. Daryl, I'm designing the Calabash Digger Learn Your Own Settings program. So, no, I looked at a beta version and I only looked at it for 24, 48 hours before they decided to release it. What you see now, I told them, and it's out there anyway. So, you know, I hate it. Mental Metal showed it. Detective Northwest Compton showed it. I'm done with that machine. I'm done with it. I'm not testing anything. No more beta for them, nothing. That's just not doing it. Thanks. That's fine in Alabama. What's going on, Detect Meister, Steven? I kind of got sidetracked just a little bit with that Garrett question. I'm done with that unit. In my opinion, there's just better bang for your buck out there. Triple score, MindLab Elite. I'm just done with it. That is a train wreck from start to finish, it looks like. So that's my opinion, and those are just my opinions, and I'm just done with it. No more videos on the Garrett Vortex. No more beta testing, no more nothing with that. Okay. Iron Honey. what is important in iron hunting? Well, unmasking, we know that. Getting less nail faults, and we know that. But when you're looking at the DEUS 2, and Lance, you know this, you test metal detectors, and a lot of you guys look at these things. Frequency is a big part of this. So if you're in iron, you can go ahead and check the box off that if you want the best unmasking capabilities, you need a 40 kilohertz. To find out not, so far no one said of settings. Yeah, that's right. With DIS settings on the DEUS 2, I wish you would make a video. Yeah, I would too. But I didn't see anything. I changed the DIS settings on it and looked at it, changed tones on. I went through those programs pretty hard. And here's a rule of thumb. And this is a rule of thumb of the Manicore and the DEUS 2 and other detectors too. The more open you can run that machine, the more stuff that you can find. Con, the more open that you run the machine, the more crap that you're going to have to put up with. You see what I'm saying? In general, traditionally, and I know there's no absolutes in metal detector, but the way it normally works is the more open that you can run the machine, the more stuff that you can find in contaminated areas. Now, I'm talking about iron specifically, not just modern trash. You may use knots and this if you're coin hunting, and that is a different beast unto itself. But if for iron hunting, frequency is a big part. There's 3 programs on the DEUS 2, sensitive full tones, sensitive, and fast, the one that I use. Sensitive and fast have the same filters. Sensitive full tones uses a different set of filters. But all 3 of those programs are the go-to for heavy iron hunting. And I'm not saying that you can't use the general program in heavy iron, and I would if the ground was super saturated with water. Other than that, those are the 3 programs that I would build off of my settings off of. The 2 have the same filter. So basically the only difference between sensitive and fast is just the tones and the way that it's set up from the factory. Sensitive full tone's a little bit different, more opened. In general, has that filtering in it to help with the wet soil. But the more open that you can run the machine, the more stuff in iron you can find in heavy masking situations. And it's just that simple. There's no magic program. There's no magic bullet. There's things that you can do to help you, like with pitch. I will run the pitch up a little bit higher to where it gives me a more distinct, and you can hear it in the demo video where I come over the mass target and it gives this very distinct high blip, which is very good at stopping me when you get a million. You get a million of those signals and you get the high blip, it'll stop you. But the 40 kilohertz and those 3 programs is what I would build off of traditionally. The silencer, the lower the better usually. But the test that I was doing today was a silencer of 2. And, you know, we'll have to see here in the near future when XP releases the HF coil, we'll have to see how to set it up and where to set the silencer on it and etc. But generally, the less discrimination, the less silencer. Reactivity will play a part in that. 2.5. I showed another video the other day and showed what I, out on a lid, what I consider to be heavy iron. And you guys can go back and check out that iron hunting video and listen to it. But that's where I would use a 2.5 and a 3. And this is what Brass Medic brought up. And it was very, very good. And I said, Brass Medic, I said, I'm going to give you credit for that because it was a very valid, good point about these custom programs. Reactivity really in these custom programs is a problem. He said that in his viewpoint, reactivity should be viewed more like sensitivity, and it's adjusted as needed on site in different places in the site. It's moved up and it's moved down. And I'm like, man, that is actually a very, very good thought, because on the same site, let's say that if I take a custom program and it has a reactivity of 3, I'm up here and there's a lot of iron. When you swing in the coil, then the reactivity of 3 is very sufficient for that in the custom program that somebody gave me. Well, let's say that I walk off-site, or not off-site, off the core just a little bit of the home site, off the cellar hole, and there's stuff dropped out there because there's been stuff going on for hundreds of years out there. And I look at that and I go, okay, there's not as much iron here, but there's a potential that there's a deep target. I'm in a reactivity of 3. Well, right there, I may need to drop that reactivity to 1.5 to gain depth and find the deeper stuff out in the cleaner ground. So it's a very valid point what Brass Medic brought up about that reactivity not being something that's set in stone on those programs and those custom programs, and understanding, and this goes back into the Calabash Digger Learn Your Settings, how to set up your machine yourself, to testing your machine and looking at what the different reactivities do, so you will understand that when you're in a reactivity of 3, there is a big difference in depth in a reactivity of 1.5. And there's even places that is clean ground, you can run a reactivity down to 0.05, like if you're chasing Civil War bullets, and dig them that deep and get a good signal because you've gained so much depth. So I am in agreement with him. That's a very good idea, and I'm going to start using that when I talk about these settings. Maybe we need to view the reactivity in a little more like sensitivity, that it's adjusted as needed on the fly. I've been guilty of it myself, to set the reactivity at 2.5 and then walk off the site and the iron go down. Well, at that point, I may need to kick into that menu button and drop it down to 1.5 and gain that little bit of extra depth. So that's something to think about, reactivity. Sensitivity, running it too hot. I'm just doing this kind of off the cuff. I'm glancing down at the notes, but so what do we need to know about iron hunting? Well, we need to know about the lowest discrimination, the lower the silencer, setting them, if you're in heavy iron, a 2.5 to 3 will give you good iron separation. Even a 4 if it's machine gun iron. You can hunt the iron patch in those different reactivities and sometimes locate targets that the other one wouldn't hit. A 4 may hit a target that a 2.5, but a 2.5 may hit another target that the 4 skipped over because it had a little bit more depth. So it's very dynamic in those settings, and taking a custom program, muscle version, taking a custom program and saying, well, I found this, this, and this, and this, and not growing where your machine is getting caught in a trap. Because, you may be out there with that custom program singing its praises, but if you're not comfortable enough to go in and say, you know what, I can lower my reactivity here and gain depth, you may miss something. You may walk over some deep stuff. So if you're hunting a pasture in a reactivity of 3 or 2.5 or whatever your custom program that somebody gave you, and you're never lowering it, then there's a problem there. You may be you are. If there's any deep targets there, you could possibly walk over them, and you will if they're to an extreme depth that 1.5 will hit, or 0.5 will hit, and 1.5 that 3 won't hit. So anyway, but I've seen reactive unmasking. Yeah, and it does. Sharpshooter showed that. There's different scenarios with everything. But when I'm speaking of in general. In general, normally when I get highly contaminated iron sight, a higher one normally does better. But there are certain cases that a 1.5 does unmask better lengths. And I used a 1.5 reactivity. You see me and Carolina Digger this year digging that heavy colonial iron sight up there. And I lowered, because there were some deep targets there, to a 1.5. And I found some very deep stuff up there, hunting. And I used the 1.5 and walked through the iron and found some things with it. So let me bump back up here. I appreciate it, Fly Rock. Let me see here. Let's see here. Hey, okay, Greg. I agree. 40 in kilohertz in heavy trash. I run in wide open with the 0 discrimination. Yeah. That's when you're getting it. If you're in heavy iron and that's what you want to get the stuff, and the site's been hunted the hardest, you gotta open the machine. You're gonna have to put up with some crap. But if you want the absolute, now if you want a quiet machine, then I understand that too. But if you want the best performance, you're gonna have to open the machine up to the very edge of where you can stand it. And that will give you the best unmasking on the day. It'll give you the best unmasking on the mounted core too. When you lower that, Carolina Digger hunts with an upper of 7 and a lower of 3 on the Manicord. That's pretty open. That's pretty open. I don't know that you could hunt a 6, but that's pretty open on that machine. The new update on the new will change the sound. I don't know that one, but I hope to know it soon, and I'll let you know, Detectmeister. Way off topic, but why on the Manicord do memorial pennies fault so high a lot? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. Sharpshooter Mike could chime in on that one. Great info, but I wonder if the pitch tone is making the target sound enticing because pitch tone doesn't reflect the target's conductivity. ID will still show 8-9, but give a non. Yes, that is one of the reasons that what I was showing my settings was outperforming in the heavy iron of those programs. Now, when I kicked it over into PWN, the programs were not, I mean, you still hear that blip, but like I said, you're listening to different tone profiles, square versus PWM, and you'll hear that, but when you put it, you realize it's the iron sounding off. So one of the things there is the way that the legacy program is set up. We'll talk about that just for a minute. He's got the first, I believe it is 28, basically in the iron range. So when you get that 7, 8, and 9 highly challenged target, those programs are not going to hit it. With the DEUS set up to 42, they're not going to sound off on the 7, 8s, and 9s. So yeah, the pitch is definitely an advantage in that. Now I know that from testing, as you've seen, I tested those programs today, but that definitely gives you an advantage with the pitch. And the offset, like I said in that video, was put in for full tones to help get that 7, 8, 9 or that low end, because if you remember on the DEUS 1, you would get these tones that would be so low that you could possibly miss them. And that's the deal with the offset, is to get that first tone being on the highly masked targets, compromised targets, to come in just a little bit higher where your ear can pick it up. So yes, that is why I love pitch in iron, because you can set it in a way where the most challenged target gives you this hot flip. Now, do you pay a price in other areas? Yes, you do sometimes. If you get into some of them older colonial, now sometimes you can get these real high spikes that'll come off of it. And those 3 programs that I showed you today are a little more tamed in that aspect because of the way that they're set up. But the program that I showed you, or the settings, I'm going to start calling it the settings that I showed you today, were more alertive than those. In 2 of them, the legacy program can hit neither one of those targets. It's calling it iron, and that is because the legacy program is set up in a way that where those challenged targets fall into an iron bin. It basically has an iron bin set up to, I believe it was 28, just off the top of my head. But yeah, that's a good point, good catch on that, and that is, yes, what's going on. We're top notch, took your advice, immediately dug up 3 crusty coins that I've missed many times in my front yard. Lots to learn here. Good. Well, good that you're trying, Trevor, and you're putting in the effort. And that's something that I said, the other day. I done an iron video, in these custom programs. I'm lazy by nature. You know what I mean? Some days I don't want to do nothing. And I mean, I get somebody can give you this and somebody can give you that. And, and you can just become complacent with that. Don't want you to do that. I want you to think about what each setting does. And the baseline here is if you're iron hunting and you want the most out of the machine, you got to open it up. That's the bottom line. And you're going to put up with more crap. And it's traditional. Think about a Tesoro. You could cut that disc knob back. You had to put up with more crap, right? You turn that disc knob up. You could deal with less crap, but what happened? Exactly. It's traditionally been that way in detectors since they were made, I guess. Guessing reactivity. No, that's recovery speed, Stephen. So some manufacturers use recovery, XP language is reactivity. So on the Manicord, you'd say a recovery speed of 4, and the DEUS 2 reactivity, but we could say recovery speed. It just means making the machine faster, like if you come over a bunch of targets where to report each target, or slowing it down a little bit to where it doesn't change or shift to each target as fast. Normally, traditionally, a higher recovery speed, reactivity, will get you through multiple targets better. You'll be able to go and pick out the good one out of it. But there are exceptions to that. So that just being said, but traditionally when I'm hunting heavy iron, I tend to bump up my reactivity or recovery speed if I'm on whatever brand. Hey, I appreciate it, Fly Rock. Let's see here. Reactivity equals recovery speed. There you go, Sharpshooter. I didn't know y'all already answered. I'm behind. It was used in your recommendations on these settings. Went to a property I beat up for weeks and pulled some nice coins and relics. Hey, appreciate the report there, Gino. The grain, yeah, that's what we were talking about there, Lance. I appreciate you bringing that up. What I was getting at, couldn't think of the term, makes sense now. Yeah, okay. Always multiple react. Yes, very, very smart move, and that is a very, very smart move. So let's say here, 10 Sharpshooter, $20. Oh my gracious. Oh, we had a bet going, I remember. No, man, I appreciate it. Oh, and while we got Sharpshooter right here, Sharpshooter catches some flack from some of the critics sometimes. If you ever watch TN Sharpshooter's channel, he's got some nice foam coolers that he does a lot of testing on. Now, you guys know that we test things behind the scenes that you guys don't get to see, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. There's been more things discovered and bugs and flaws and things that needed correcting on those foam coolers than those people on some of those forums that's always making fun of my white coat and his coolers, that if they knew, they would never, they don't want to give any credit, but I'm telling you guys, if you live in a place, and we're talking about testing these metal detectors, and you can go over to Sharpshooters and watch how he does it. You don't have to go, if you live in an apartment complex, you can go buy you one of these, set up your things on it, and then take it back in the house, put your stuff in it. It's actually a very good way to get a best case scenario on a metal detector. Because if you put it in the ground, it's only going to get worse. So it is best case scenario, but you can check it. You can look at unmasking. You can look at what your settings do in real live time. And that's how you become one with the detector. When I raise my reactivity up, I lose depth. When I lower my reactivity down, I gain depth. When I raise my discrimination up, it won't hit that coin beside that nail. When I raise my silencer up, it won't hit that coin. Well, when I lower my discrimination down in pitch or whatever you're in, you may get away with it lower in full tones, but if I'm in pitch, about as low as I normally go is a 6.4, and then I run my silencer down to a 0.2, just whichever one you're more comfortable with, and you see that the machine is unmasking better, and you get to see that in real live time, what is going on with changing those settings. That's me and Sharpshooter was talking about. A metal detector does something that we can't do. It sees into the ground. So we can't analyze what it's seeing out there detecting in the field. All we can say is we found this, we found that. Is there data to be gained from the field? Absolutely. But there's also very, very good data. And in my opinion, as a new user or learning a machine, there's very good visual data because I learn by seeing. And when I see those settings change and the parameters of the machine change and what it does in real life time, that sticks in my muscle memory. So I'm out on the field, I'm hunting heavy iron, I bump my reactivity up 3. Oh man, this is really machine gun. I go to 4, 3, 2.5, whatever. In that little window there. And then I come out of the iron and I know, oh man, I seen on my test that, man, that thing gains this much depth with a 0.5 or 1.5 reactivity over a 3 or a 4. And there's not a whole lot of iron here. What you doing, Slash? There's not a whole lot of iron here. Then I lower it down and I can visually see in my mind what that detector's doing. You understand what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with this, right? So seeing it in real life time concretes it into your mind, and it also gives you confidence because you know what's happening when you change that setting. So with that being said, let me kick over here. The first time I run over a fresh scraped lot, I like to run fast with a notch from 12 to 55. This is because these sights in there are covered. Hey, that's a very good. See, and John knows what he wants to do, and he's telling you why he's doing it. When you're taking these programs in, a lot of times on different things, people will give you a program and they don't tell you why they changed it. John is telling you why he's running at 12 to 55. So you're changing the setting. Now you know he's telling you why he does that. That is what you look for, is why. And when somebody's giving you programs, it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's me or any other YouTuber out there. You need to test that stuff in your area, in your soil, and see how it works. Because if you just key it in your thing, you could be going out there making all kinds of problems. I believe that I saw one custom program somewhere, and it removed the ground stabilizer to 1. Well, if you go to TN's area, he's tested the DEUS 2 with the ground stabilizer, and it doesn't do too hot up there. It makes it a little more erratic. So you get your machine, you move the ground, you put in the custom program, it moves the ground stabilizer to 1. I'll leave mine on 2. And your machine's acting all right, and you're like, this DEUS 2 ain't worth crap. It's erratic. Well, it may be your soil, and it may need to be on a 2. It's factory preset at 2, and I don't never move it here. Iron always gives a good non-ferrous tone and ID. What adjustments I have to do to correct this? I find that it heavily corroded. Are you talking about with the DEUS 2? I talk about this to Techmeister in that video that I did the other day. In what you're calling a good non-ferrous tone in ID, the tone is key with the DEUS 2. A lot of people tell me a good non-ferrous tone, and I showed this in the video the other day of a big old shovel head, just blip, 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 non-ferrous tone, ID, but it's not a good non-ferrous tone. It has a forced sound to it, and I don't know that we're on the same page, but this is way I'm taking it. You're digging like that shovel head I showed in the video of that bop, 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 and you hear it and you go, oh man, there's no iron buzz with that. It's a non-ferrous tone, but it's a big old giant piece of iron, and it gives you this, what I don't have a better description, forced tone, but if you go back and watch that video, I actually demo that, and you can hear it even on the external speaker, and that is not a good tone. You'll never find a coin that gives that pushback like that. It'll have a different sound off the way that it comes across, and that comes with experience. But start really trying to contrast your coin signals and all. But also, I use one. Are you using a little side note here about these machines and learning them? Keep the same tones. And I said this in the video of the day. Don't be jumping tones, because you're changing the way the machine behaves. And one of the reasons that I don't use 5-tone, 3-tone, 2-tone is I can't ID iron on the DEUS 2 as good with that as I can pitch or full tones. Now that may just be me. I feel like I just can't ID it as good. Now that's why I've always used full tones and pitch. But other people use those, very successful. They're sending when you the new HF coils. Digging Daryl, I can't say or deny that, but I hope to have videos. I can't confirm nor deny that, but I'll have some videos up soon, I hope. It's, that's all. I hope to see what the new update that comes with that coil looks like too. So we'll see what happens with it. Can be as important as some settings too. So knowing how it all works is a must. Yes. I used to hunt with a guy, Alabama Digger, and I loved that guy to death, but I couldn't tell him anything about his swing speed. He would lift his coil up and swing his detector like that, and he was using a CTX till he got a DEUS, but he would swing his detector like that. Man, we'd been an iron patch, and he's just swinging that thing like that. And I'm like, and then he would get mad when I would find more than him. And I said, look, dude, take that coil, come down to the ground, and slow that sucker down and massage that thing through that iron patch. And that is a very good topic, Alabama Digger. Massage that thing through the iron patch at with the DEUS, it does like movement. If you haul the coil too slow with the DEUS, it'll kind of drop the signal. It does like a little movement, the DEUS 2. And the DEUS 1 was like, it's like a little bit of movement, but as you're coming through that iron, don't just be doing that. Listen, work that coil through that iron. Come in this way, that way, and you'll have a lot more success. And that's a good catch there to interject that in the live stream, Alabama Digger. I know my Legacy has killed it in the pastures with buttons and copper coins, but I'm not running. The program was originally. The problem with the Legacy is the first tone setup. if you're hunting in any iron and you're going for super unmasking and not just like digging high conductive targets or good IDs, but you're digging repeatable non-ferrous tones, when you get into the heavy iron, they may get drugged down on some super mass targets. The problem with the legacy is that first bend that's set up in the 5 tones is killing that challenge target on the DEUS too. So you see me do the basic nail test with it, and you'll see that compromised ID come in there. The legacy program will not hit. It actually is hitting it, but the way that it's set up, it's calling it iron. So some of those highly compromised targets, you're gonna see it with the legacy program, just like what I use, the settings that I use, but it's gonna call it iron, and that's what you're gonna hear. You're gonna hear an iron buzz instead of a pitch tone go beep, 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 stop and dig. And that is because of the way that the gentleman set up that first, well, he's got the 3.3, if I remember right, 3.3 disc, and then he goes into the first 5-tone bend and runs it down to 30, if I remember correctly, and then drops that down right into the iron kilohertz range or the hertz range on the way the machine reports back. And that's the problem. Other than that, but the problem would be is if you raise that up above the iron and drop the disc to 3.3 and 5 tones, you would have some major problems. So that's the problem with that, Berkshire. But if you're not worried about the most, advanced unmasking capabilities of the machine and getting the most challenged targets, then it's probably not that big of a deal. But if you are, then that's the flaw in that program, in my opinion. I like to beat my competitors to the good targets and then open up the machine to find them. Yeah, and if you can, like John said here, if you can return to a challenged or a site, then I have hit virgin sites. I found one and I found like 28 military buttons off of that thing. Just a little old field, probably a half acre. And it had a home site on trimes and buttons and bullets and just killer stuff. But it went like that. Real easy targets, going down to the sketchy targets. And this is pre-DEUS 2 release, but same principle was with the DEUS 1. And just like John said, and going back, you basically cherry pick the good stuff, and then you go back and get the more challenged stuff. But to get the challenged targets like John is talking about, you got to follow the principle. You got to open the machine up. You got to deal with the bull crap, and that's with a Manicore, Equinox, a Legend, a Triple Score, the DEUS 2, the WS6 Master. You've got to open it up. If you want to be able to find things that your competitors can't find in whichever machine, you've got to get that thing opened up to the edge to get it to report on that stuff. Let's see here. Thickest of nails sweeping with coil somewhat elevated can allow one to locate targets. Yeah. Sharpshooter's shown that too. On some of his tests, you'll get if you got the coil right here on the iron, you may get this high or this high, and it may pick it up better. So low and slow, me and him's talked about this. Low and slow sometimes has always been preached over the years, but we've seen it in testing scenarios where low and slow didn't do as good as a little bit of air gap in between it. So, but that's just one of those things. Nothing is 100% in metal detecting. There's variables to it. So let's say right here, with sweeping slower and higher iron with one react, you not be overwhelmed with all the different sounds. David, it's hard. Iron hunting the way that I do and listening to that will cause you ear fatigue, and it will cause you overwhelmed if you're not careful. Maybe, if you're having a problem, you're getting too overwhelmed, maybe you could cut the iron volume down and that would help you. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys about this. And this is with any of them. Manicore, Legend, Triple Score, DEUS 2. These multi-frequency machines, if you get in a carpet of nails, they're all going, even if you cut the iron volume off, they're all going to pop. They're all going to give you some kind of, now you can shut them down, you can run a disc of 42, and you can do all of those things. But like I said, once you start closing all those things down, and the reason I said disc of 42 because that's in the Teknna program, but once you start closing all those things down, you'll quieten the machine down, that is true, but you will start losing that extreme unmasking capability in the most extreme cases. So it's kind of a trade-off. You're just going to have to, put up with it, but you could cut your iron volume down, and that will help some. Set your silencer on about a 2 and just go with it. One reactivity in heavy iron, I feel like the machine reports better in heavy iron with a 2.5 or 3 because it, as I showed that, well, we need to talk about this just for a minute too. What David is talking about here will lengthen the tone, and it lengthens all tones. So, and dang, I should have put this in a clip so you guys could see it, but it's in the iron hunting video, and I demo it. When you lower the reactivity, let's say this is a DEUS 2 coil and this is a nickel, and you come across with a 1, it'll go wow, wow, wow. And now I'm going to say something. Notice the length of the tone that I used. When you raise it to a 3, bip, 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 it shortens the tone on the reactivity. The problem with hunting the heaviest iron with the slow reactivity is it lengthens the tones on all the targets under the coil. It gets kind of tough. But the other thing, when you're hunting with you go out in the field and you hear a deep signal or a freestanding coin at 5 inches, when you hit it with a lower reactivity, you're going to get a big sound. Wow, wow. It's going to be a long tone. When you get in the iron and you raise that reactivity, the non-ferrous tone is going to be a lot shorter, so you're going to have to adjust your ears for that too. So David, my opinion is no. Now, there may be others that have a different opinion on that. It lengthens the tone out. So in my thinking, the 2.5, 2.5, 3, 4 will give you less problems than a slow, even sweeping slow, because the tones are so long. But that is a pro tip of the day. When you change recovery speed, it changes the way a non-ferrous target reports, and you need to be aware of that and really pay attention to that. True swing speed is important. Yes, you don't swing like a rocket, man. What's going on, Motor Tech in Northwest Georgia? What's going on? It'd be great if the rain would move out. So yeah, I got that right. Merrill's been testing the HF for months. Have you communicated with him to see how it performs? No, I don't have a relationship with him, Digging Daryl. I don't have a relationship with him. We'll see soon enough. I don't know him like that. I don't know that he would tell me he's probably under NDA with XP. I don't know if he is or not, but no, I haven't. But we'll know soon enough. Wish it would rain more in here in Southwest Georgia. Yep. Let's see what else we got. I got lost, guys. Why not test with the foam cooler? I like the idea. Does it not eliminate insulate from any ground? Yeah, that foam cooler is a very good way. It elevates the stuff up, and you're just seeing best case scenario. Best to find a stock program you like and play with. Says one at a time on a site you know well, and can refrequent to really learn it all. Yeah, I do like the visual. I just think that is a powerful learning tool of being able to look at your machine. And this is not going to get resolved in this live stream because I can see now this is a very, very deep subject, and I'm going to do some videos. I've done one iron hunt video. I'll do some modern trash, beach videos, and we'll just refresh on this, but really going to focus in on showing the visuals of what the settings do when you change them, what parameters they change, and how they change the performance of the machine, the pros and the cons. And that is going to be my goal, especially with this HF coil coming. We're going to look at it. We're going to try to figure out how to run the machine. I can see right now this is actually a really good topic. And I feel like that this would bring our community even to another level if we really, really focused on each individual setting, like Alabama Digger said, and maybe, have one on reactivity, and I'll show that. And I don't know. This is a very deep subject, and it's good subject matter, and it will no substitute for real world testing. I agree with that, Harold, that you can gain stuff from using out in the field, but Can I ask you a question about that? And I'm just playing, I'm just playing this game because I've had that used against me a lot over the years. Oh, y'all testing in your, well, I have stuff in the ground that's been in there 6 years. How long? But that's all beside the point. If I get a brand new machine today and I go up to my local park, I'm not saying that you don't gain knowledge of how to negate EMI, but I go up to the local park and I dig 10 coins. I mean, what did I learn? Yeah, the IDs, I get all that, but what did I learn on how to set that machine up? Did I learn how to get the depth out of that machine? Did I learn how to get the machine to separate? What, am I amazing? Can I see a mass target in the ground? Can I realize how tough this scenario? And I'm just using this, Harold. So it's just been kind of an ongoing thing over the years with some people when they talk about the way we test. Well, the manufacturers know how we test about this stuff, and they send us the beta versions to test. But with this being said, there's benefit in real world testing, but there's a lot of, that's where it counts. But what I'm trying to say is this right here. Before I leave my yard, I can just about know, or not just about know, I know exactly how I want to set that particular machine up for the sites that I hunt. Now, I may have to figure out where to set the sensitivity to negate the EMI that day. But I know my soil conditions nearby my house, within 50, 75-mile radius, pretty much, there's really, really no super hot dirt. But I can basically go out into my testing facility and learn where I want to set up a new machine for different scenarios. Heavy iron hunting, searching for deep stuff, looking for coins. I can know that before I ever leave my house with that machine. So testing is very, very important. Real world in use, yes, that is the most important as far as experience and how that thing works out there. But there's benefits to both of them. A lot of information to be gained. Do you have any custom programs for Vortex divining rods? No, that sucker is leaving my presence. That metal detector is leaving. They've been pretty quiet, Fly Rock, but that detector is going to be leaving my residence. That is just, I'm not even going to get into it. I said earlier in the live that, what I had to say about it, and I am, Pilate when he washed his hands. I mean, I'm washing my hands of that thing, but I just, I don't know why I thought of that. But that's the only person I can think about washing his hands from the Bible. But that was a really bad thing. He washed his hands up. I mean, well, I have not heard anything. I know that they're working on some stuff. I think the Pulse will be first. I wish they would come out with their high-end machine first, but I'm sure that I'll get to take a gander at that. I'm pretty sure I will. Doesn't particularly, MI just deals with immolation of eternal ground. Okay, I'm not following that conversation. I hate small debuckles. There's a lot that can be learned from those. Yes, you can't test what you can't see in the ground. It's a lot with it. Yes, and that is one of the things me and TN talks about. And I won't stay on here much longer. I've been on an hour because this is a deep subject, and we're going to have to revisit this. But we talk a lot, man, and we might not talk for months sometimes, but when the metal detector, we've been on the roll. We've been talking about that one. We've been talking about that update on that day, what's coming with that DEUS too, and that one back there. We've been talking about it and running it through. I've been on the phone with him running that back there through scenarios, and in the past when we've tested the updates, I've been on the phone with him. We'll be talking live, live, you know what I mean, and checking things and, looking at things and concurring. Can you see this? Yep, I can see that. I can duplicate that here, and the coolers have found a lot of stuff, man. They found a lot of stuff because you can sit there and see what you're looking at. And I'm really, that needs to be talked about more too, and how that can be used as a learning curve or even a confidence builder. Think about this for a moment. Let's just use it. No, let's don't use that one. You get this detector and you go into it and you start changing settings. Well, you've not tested it. So you change the setting, you walk around, you don't find nothing. Well, what happens? I know what happened to me when I first started using the DEUS one before I got into testing heavily. Did I mess something up? Why am I not finding anything? Have I got the machine messed up? That whole dilemma starts playing through your head, right? Well, once you, break my glass desk, once you come in here and you store that, see it visually, then when you make that change in the field, you can have confidence in it. And that is a big thing, guys. You know it is. When you got confidence in your settings and you got confidence in the detector, that makes for a much better, it also makes for better finds a lot of times because you actually done the right thing because you know how to do it or you're learning how to do it. But that confidence makes a much better detecting day. Even if you don't find anything, you're not sitting there going, have I got my new machine set up correctly, Calabash? You're not doing that. You're like, well, you know what? I need to find a new site because this one is either beat to death or there wasn't nothing here to start with. See what I'm saying? So it's a very big deal. I mean, it's a big deal having and I've got slap off of custom programs. But anyway, the goal is the next few weeks we're going to get into this heavy with this new version that's going to come out with the HF coil. We're going to get into learning these settings where you can basically, everybody can make their own custom program for what? Their site on that day under those conditions on that day in that particular area, and you can move it on the fly. That's what we want to do. That's what we want to do. We don't need to be putting up a bunch of custom programs. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Only better way would be to completely surround the machine and user to eliminate. Okay, let's see here. Yes, with pitch, iron tone, iron. Let's see here. Reactivity dependent with the swing. The DEUS 2 at 1.5 is even still fast. Yeah, Garrett, but new Vortex is a flop. I tried it today and it can't separate targets real world hunting. I got you. Even comparing signal subject target with your bud might detecting when you might learn something from your memory bank. Yeah, true. Meant to say new firmware in 9.9 is a flop. Yep. I'm going to give Mental Metal a shout out. Go over and check his video out. I'm done. So, zero reactivity can be a slow swing and very effective. Yeah, I've heard this, but only as a follow-up, would never use it as a main. Yeah, I've heard that. That thing is super deep with a zero reactivity. For me to safeguard, I think I'd just go with a 0.5, but if you're confident in keeping your swing, if you're digging for some, looking for some super deep stuff, it could happen, and you could find it like that. But friends who run a Vortex will randomly do those. Can't put new coil. So many possibilities. Yeah, bunches of possibilities. What's going on, Ireland? Mental detecting. How do you adjust your audio response when you are in heavy iron? I lower mine to 3 and it seems to quiet down the ambient noise created by heavy iron patches, but still lets good. I used to run mine on 3, but since I started diving, Lance, I've been running mine at 5. Now that gets it can get overwhelming, and do I suggest everybody do that? No. I don't, but my hearing, I had an inner ear infection some couple years ago, and I think that it hurt my hearing a little bit. So I've been running mine on a 5, and it knocks. I mean, it knocks so hard sometimes, even for me, but yeah, I used to run mine on a 3, but right now I've been running it on a 5. So that's kind of where I've been at for a few years now, but since I had that ear infection. A 4, I like a 5. I'm used to it, but it does make everything knock a little bit harder. But if you got super good hearing, it would probably be too much, be overwhelming. It does give me ear fatigue after a while. Let's see here, David. Try 0, reactivity deep, high square. Just enough. Yeah. That's super deep. That's super deep. One of the guys from XP, when that 0.5 come out, he said, "Have you tried deep high conductor with a 0.5 reactivity?" And I said, "No." I said, let me go out there and check that. This is when it was first like beta version or something. Man, I went out there and checked that 0.5, and holy cow, man, that thing hit a high conductive cone at I mean ridiculous depths. Running a lower max well, using deep high conductor. Some deep nails you're probably yes. You got if you're not digging any iron, you got your machine shut down too much. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know that anybody's so good that can open up a machine and never dig a piece of iron. Because look, some pieces of iron are good, and I'll chase big iron sometimes on purpose, but it don't plague me as a problem. I understand the agony of learning, the DEUS 2 and trying to figure out, how to hunt iron successfully. We got totally off the settings, but learn your settings, test your machine, get a visual on it. But we'll go through each of the settings over the next week or so. But let me get down here to the bottom of this on the depth meter on the Minelab machines or the accuracy of said meter. There's a question for you, sharpshooter. Friends don't. Did you get that question, sharpshooter? If you're still on here, you're taught on it before. Okay. Going back to earlier comment, if you want full potential, you won't be enjoying your hunt, but you will find it out. Well, I'm not even going to go that far, Alabama Digger. Maybe when the new machine comes out in a few years and technology advances further, you'll even go back and find something else. But you'll find the most that you can find. Yeah, I got you. Definitely a trade-off of enjoyment, time, and finds. Beauty of knowing the settings. There you go. What that man right there said. If you're not in the mood for it that day, you know where to set your settings, and you have seen it visually if you tested your metal detector on a cooler or whatever you choose to use with some very simple, basic testing. Basic, it don't have to be 900. You can just do a little elevated nail and a little down the barrel. I mean, very simple stuff, but you get to see what happens there. That's why when I get a new machine, especially in this modern multi-frequency era, it don't take long to figure out, even if it's a different brand. I mean, I can pick up a triple score, a Legend, a Manicore, an Equinox, a DEUS 2, a WS6 Master. Never mind. And I can set that machine to where I can get it pretty quick to optimum unmasking capabilities. Because I know the philosophy or the more open, the better. Across the board. Every manufacturer works that way. Yes, sir. What's going on, Metal Detector, Northwest Georgia? All those different ideas are all good on the right side and target. Yes, they are. I am upset that the stock beach programs will not hit small gold chains. I know the machine will hit them thanks to the Goldfield. Problem is Goldfield will not run. Well, when you say small gold chains, this is what I want to say. I've got the Manicore back there, and I've got the DEUS 2. When you get to a certain small gold chain, both of those detectors are going to cut off. All the serious beach hunters here is going to they can bear witness to that. Now, if it's got a clasp on it or that, but if it's just a gold chain and it's broken or something and it ain't got the clasp on it, both of them is going to cut off. Now, the real question, and maybe I should have talked about this earlier, is with this HF coil. Give me this a second. What is the DEUS 2 HF coil going to do versus the Minelab Manicore M8 coil on the beach, Sean, on those small gold chains? This is the question of 2025, because I'm just going to say, if the DEUS 2 being able to run a high, I think Minelab's up into the 40s in beach low conductor. That's just a guess. But it looks like the high end on the beach programs may be in the 50s on the DEUS 2. Well, what does that mean for small gold chains? We'll have to see. But it's got me very excited thinking about the possibilities. May turn out to be nothing, may turn out to be a game changer. We shall see, and you'll see a video on it either way. So, with that being said, let's say, learn your fast settings and pay attention, because we have a very special field coming up as soon as they cut the grass where there was, and pewter buttons can, that's that. Yeah, when I listen, that is actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I hunt. You guys know I love Rev War stuff. You want me to show you a Rev War button? You've probably already seen it, but I'm going to show you my find of the year last year, if I can get the camera to focus on it. And I don't want to drop it and break it, but this is my find of the year last year. Let's see here. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on. Oh my gosh, it's not, I'm not, look, you're going to look at that and think it's junk. I'm not even going to try to, it's not. It is a stunner. I'll take a, hey, you know what? Hold on. There's modern technology here. This is, you're talking about Rev War buttons. This is not Continental. This is British. But let's just look at it right here. Let's see here. Let me shoot a picture in here. Give me just a second, guys. Y'all gonna, this is a good one. And yeah, if I was going to a place like this, I would most definitely want my machine running at full potential just in case. Yeah. You guys see that? I'm going to let you look at that right there while I go put my button back in the case. That is from the Revolutionary War 30, you see the 33 on it. British Regiment of Foot. I can't talk. But yeah, Berkshires, if I was going to a Rev War site, I would definitely want my machine running at full unmasking capabilities, even if I had to put up with bull crap. Uh-oh, I'm moving the wrong thing. To be a lot more, yeah. A lot of detecting is mental. You're not doing well when you start to force signals into sounding good and do worse. I'm guilty. Okay, Stephen, I'm glad you put that comment up there, because I don't know that of all my years or however long I've been doing live streams that we've ever talked about that. I'm guilty of it too. I'm guilty of it underwater. I'm guilty of it on land. You're on a site. It's been hit hard. You're not getting any good signals, and you start to force bad signals to sound good. Guilty of it. Been there, done that. I'm glad you brought that up. How many is guilty of that? Y'all ever do that? Yeah, Mental Metal's got a video up. Go watch it. Same old, same old. I'm done with it. Mental detecting. Same old, same old. Is that the machine, any machine will find metal targets. There you go. Well, there you go. There you go, Trevor. Man, there you go. That's what you learned. That's a good point. Hey, I appreciate it, Marco. Appreciate it. Day 365, you want that machine to lock on to a deep target that will rewrite history in your mind, make you question how it got there, then the when and where. There you go. There you go. And how. Hey, I appreciate it, Ohio Fred. Yeah, that's what you need to do. I'm telling you, you need to do that. I'm telling you, I'm not making this up. You've seen the video. That legacy program that you've been using, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not, nothing but respect for the guy who come up with it. But if you've got a super challenge target, you see me show it today, and I tested that off camera. I tested on a simple nail test out there with one nail and a nickel laying right here. That machine set up that way is going to call that target iron every time. If it's okay. Anyway, moving on. Smart move, man. Smart move. But let's talk about that for a minute. That is another, listen, let's talk about this just for a second before we get off. Have we got anybody left in here? When you're looking at these custom programs and you don't know how to, and this is for anybody. I mean, we all have to learn. I had to learn. I learned from Gary Blackwell, watching his videos, and I took what he showed me and I went further with it, and I started testing myself. You know what I mean? He'd say, do this, do that. Excellent, excellent teacher that guy was. And I hate to see that he's not just with XP anymore, but excellent teacher. But the point being was, as I moved on, and I still looked at Gary's stuff, that's not what I'm saying, but I started doing it myself. Thus, when I look at custom programs, and this is with the fast forward to the DEUS 2, if you do this and you look at people's custom programs, you can spot things off of, well, why did they do that? Well, that might cause a problem. Why did they set this setting right here? Why did they do that? Oh, no, I wouldn't do that. And you'll understand the dynamics of the machine. You'll be able to spot things. That first thing that on that legacy program that popped in my mind was, wait a minute, we've got iron from that back. I was like, eh. And then the second thing was that Jethro program was built off the die program. And I'm like, eh. And then with the Teknna program, it's that high disk. But I get it. If you're trying to quiet the machine down, I totally get all of that. But we're talking about, like I said in the beginning of the live, unmasking to its full potential. So let's see. John says it's important to eliminate as many variables as possible when testing settings and how they work. Basic scientific method. Test gardens don't change. There you go. John, let me step out there just for a second with that. So in my test garden that does not change, I've been able to test in dry soil, cold weather, hot weather, mild weather, stormy weather, dry weather, high EMI in the wintertime, especially when everything's running, high EMI in the summertime when everything's running, low EMI in the spring and different times of the day when things quiet down and the factory's not running. So I've been able to see different variables from my test garden. How do I handle high EMI? How does the machine behave in the type of EMI that I have here? Will it still hit a deep target? Will it still unmask? I've been able to glean a lot of stuff from a test garden, and I'm just going to tell you, it's invaluable. And I'm going to tell you this, that people that criticize like the way Sharpshooter does things, I do things, the 3 major manufacturers in the world, and 4 have sent me stuff to test. They know how I test. It's very evident. It's on the videos. So if that stuff does not mean anything, why would they do that? And that's not promotional videos and just pumping products. That is behind the scenes communication to look at glitches, problems, rate their machine, etc., etc. So there must be something to it. How do manufacturers test their machines and get their programs and, all of that stuff? They don't do it out in the field. I can tell you that for a fact. They take it to the field and test it and see how it works in the field, but the parameters and all that stuff is, yeah. Anyway, my point. It's important to look at your machine. If it's good enough to help companies with beta versions, spot problems, performance, you know what I'm saying, then it should be good enough for any of us to use to further our learning in metal detecting and master our machine. That's all I'm saying. And that's for the critics. You guys know I love all y'all, but that's for the critics out there that are watching. They're not commenting in here. They're just watching. Why would you change this? ID gives different. Why when you change coil sizes? I'm not an engineer. I can't tell you exactly on that. It's probably something to do with the way, different loop on it and all that. What transfer? This. If you want the most out of the manicore in heavy iron, you've got to open it up. And just like I said with the DEUS 2, if you want the most out of the DEUS 2, there's 3 programs. And this is going to transfer, Keith. Give me just a second, and I'm going to answer your question. There's 3 programs that have sensitive full tones, and fast. They're all designed for iron hunting. It's got to be 40 kilohertz. Open up the machine as much as you can. So if I pick up my manicore and I say, I want to get the most out of the manicore, what do I need to do? Well, Keith, you need to go in there, and my buddy, Carolina Digger, he's really, he's better than I am with this machine. He has really mastered the iron hunting with this machine. He uses an upper 7 and a lower of 3. I can't do it. I have to have a lower of 4, sometimes an 8 upper, but he has mastered it to where he can open it up that much. And when me and him's hunting out on days, sometimes it's he wins, sometimes I win with the most finds. And you know how that goes. That don't just mean one machine's outperforming the other. It might just be in a better area on the site. But this transfers. On the Manicore, if you want the best unmasking, you got to get into the all-terrain low conductors, because that is the one that's running the highest weighted frequency. So it's the same, that transfers to the Manicore. Dankowski, I mean, he we had already seen this with the DEUS 2 about the high frequency. Dankowski, who helped Tom Dankowski, Nasty Tom, who helped Mine Lab with the Manicore, even concurred with that. He said, if you want the best unmasking on the Manicore, it is all-terrain low conductor. You want the best gold on the beach, it's a beach low conductor. But all of them will find gold on the beach. But anyway, that's another topic for a day. I'm not going to go chasing that rabbit hole, but that's what transfers. The more open the Manicore, the more open the DEUS 2, the more junk you're going to put up with, but that's going to give you the best iron unmasking potential. I need a plan to start out on a basic test garden. Thanks for maybe that would be a video that I could do. Maybe the smurf machine is gone. Yeah, that is, and even if you don't put it in ground, just doing the test, like I said, like Sharpshooter does, is very, very informative. A lot of stuff. I'm telling you, man, that man has caught a lot of stuff and reported about the manufacturers behind the scenes that he don't even talk about or can't talk about publicly. I know for a fact, so is the absolute most important. Yes. Change. There's no, that's an absolute truthful, straight to the point statement right there, Lance. Reactivity, sensitivity, silencer is very similar to a photography exposure triangle. It very much is. It very much is. When I pick up my fancy camera here, now look. Oh, hey, I'm glad you brought that up, because I could go up here and I could put my old camera in auto mode, and I could take some pretty good pictures. I'll get a couple of good shots. I sure can. But there's going to be a situation where me knowing the settings on this camera and how that triangle works, I'm going to be able to optimize this and get a shot that auto would have went on, especially when you start getting into different ISOs and different, dynamics and stuff like that. Yeah. It'll focus on the wrong thing. You may need a manual focus. I'll give you an example. Bird in a tree. You throw it up. You got it in automatic. It focuses on the leaf out in front of the bird. Well, if you click my little button I got preset right here, I can hit manual and manually focus it. So, yeah, automatic, good. I could get some good photos with automatic. But at the end of the day, knowing how to run that camera, I've got some really good ones in manual mode, and that's actually the only way I run that camera. But learn that it's similar to learning a metal detector, just like Alabama Digger said, the photography triangle. The M8 is a unit. Love it. Yeah, we're gonna see what that DEUS 2 coil does. Hey, Brian, Calvus, for your videos on DEUS 2. Your videos have made it a pleasure to take my DEUS 2 out. Hey, I appreciate it, Brian. I appreciate it. Yeah, man, I was excited about that one. Yes, it is pewter. That is, I must be behind on comments. I've been running my mouth today. Like I said, we just got on a totally different subject, but we will get back on this, learning how to set up your machine. So I'm gonna go through the comments and I'll probably get off of here. And I have the M9. We haven't noticed much difference yet. Dankowski has reported that the M8 will hit stuff on the beach that the M9 won't on the super tiniest stuff. So that's what we really want to see on the beach. I really want to see how much. Jeffrey, I'll answer your question in a minute. But we want to see how they compare. Jeffrey asked a question. Hey, Kyle, when is Garrett coming out with a new detector? Well, if they don't get this one straightened out, in my opinion, they're going to have some major problems. I seen the video that was put up today by them, and go watch Mental Metals video. That's all I'm gonna say about it. I'm done with it. It's true that I've noticed as well. Okay, I was intimidated with the DEUS 2 learning curve. The more hour you put in, the easier. Yes, 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 yes. Can I sing you a song? Yeah, I sure can. Hold on a minute. Let me see here. How about this one? This one goes out to, let's see, which one I want to sing here.
It's a dun detector.
I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but I've proven myself testing during strong magnetic storms. Yes, it can. It's much like putting a key on a kite and flying it, blasted cat. I hadn't seen you or heard from you lately. I was thinking about you just yesterday. I hadn't talked to blasted cat in a while, but yeah, put a key on a kite and see what happens. You do. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Hey, all right, Metal Detector, Northwest Georgia. But I do got something I want to bring up, and I'm going to make a video on it. And that is the preset beach programs. It's beach and beach sensitive. The reactivity is set at 0, and I need to do a video on that because I feel like that preset should be 1.5, because I don't believe that there's any beach in the world in the wet salt sand that you can hunt with the 0 reactivity with those 2 programs. So I'm going to do a video of that but if somebody buys this machine that's new to it and they go to the beach and they've not done their homework on it and they try to run that thing on 0, they're going to have some problems. So mental note, while we're on the live, I need to do a video on that. I wish they would set it to 1.5, but people who are experiencing EMI to try notching out 99 on their detector sounds crazy, but it works. That makes sense. I mean, you know, what rings a 99? So it really doesn't matter if you could notch that out and knock out some EMI. I mean, you know, if you can't get it quite down. But I'll tell you something else, Norman. On the DEUS 2, if you're experiencing EMI and multi-frequency, go to DEUS Mono. If it's a site, I'm just saying, or you can do it your way, but I'm saying if you're using a DEUS 2 and you're experiencing high EMI, DEUS Mono is really, really good at mitigating EMI. It's really good. The Mind Lab has really got the thing. The Manicore handles the EMI really, really well. Probably the best of all the simultaneous multi-frequencies, but that single frequency DEUS Mono is pretty tough too. I'm new to the XP and I'm using stock programs, but I stand over deep targets in the wild and play with settings to see how it affects the signal. I did the same thing with. The problem with that is you don't, if you're doing it with a wild dig, you're just assuming that they're deep. Plant you some targets somewhere and experiment with it. That way you take a ruler. Listen, I've had this over the years. I dug a 14-inch target. It was, take a ruler and measure you a 10-inch dime. That'll be a good, it's according to how your soil is too now. If you may put a 10-inch dime in and detectors may have a hard time hitting it. So you might want to start with a 6-inch dime, an 8-inch dime, a 10-inch dime, and do it with a ruler. Pack the dirt down real good, pour a little water, whatever, just pack it down, and it'll settle. It's according to what, so my soil settles really fast. But to me, that is more easier, and you know what you're looking at. You see what I'm saying? When you're in the wild, I get what you're saying, but when you're in the wild, you're kind of guessing a little bit. Well, that's a deep target. Well, is it 6 inches deep? Is it 10 inches deep? Is it, you know what I mean? There's a lot of variability, and you don't know what it is per se. So, in my mind, do it over known targets in a little spot. Look, there's things where people had 5-gallon buckets. Like if you live in an apartment in the city, you can take a 5-gallon bucket, put PVC pipes in it, then fill it up with dirt and have it in your house. I mean, yeah, that's not optimal, but it's better than guesswork. It's a 6-inch, that's an 8-inch, and you can test different size targets. If you can get outside, it would be better. 5 tones or PM, so I guess I should transfer that to the fast program since I'm so used to the tones. Yeah, I mean, what was that legacy program built off of? Since it's fine either, so it's not really the program that you're in. It doesn't matter if you use fast, sensitive, or sensitive full tones. Fast and sensitive is the same exact program, except the settings are different in the presets. Same behind the scenes filters that we can't see. Sensitive full tone has a more open filter system, and it should unmask in certain scenarios maybe a tiny bit better, but we would have to carry that deeper. But that is the theory of it. But I was so used to fast, and what I've seen in testing, the way fast behaves and sensitive full tone behaves, I didn't make the switch because it was very, very minimal. But if you're already if your program's already built off sensitive full tones and you're used to that, then just stay with that. But the problem is that first thing on that program that you're using, where that setting is on that first tone bend. That's the problem. And as far as being used out of the box, MindLab did. Actually, in my opinion, we want more though. Yes, Trevor. In my opinion, MindLab did a better job than XP did with the preset programs. I love XP. That's my go-to machine. That's the number one machine that I use. I love the Manicore too. But when how I shoot straight, when I look at the Manicore and I take it out of the box and I compare it to the preset programs of the DEUS 2, it beats the socks off of them. Now, I can make the adjustments on the DEUS 2 knowing, and I can get it to, mimic it, but I have to adjust it where MindLabs is straight out of the box like that. So, do you know anyone that has changed the equalizer on the DEUS? It seems like fluff. I have. I've run mine up over here. This one bumped up. This one where it's factory. And then it's a little notch right here out of memory up. So, but yeah, like that song. Try it. The equivalent to taking a photo at 50K. There's a fan sharpshooter. Any machine. Yeah. Me, a car hood might ring up a 99. Gator mating season here. Yeah. My buddy, so Blasted Cat, I was down last week. I had some business to take care of, and Flagman went diving, and he went down south to a place that we dove and had success, but I'm leery of it in the summer. He said, man, I went down the river, and he said, I counted 16 gators, and then he was sitting in the boat, and he sent me a video. Let me see if I can. Well, I'm not going to show it, but it's about a 12-foot gator. He's sitting there dressing out, putting his wetsuit on. The gator pops up and was not scared of him at the boat or nothing. And man, when they're that bold, I ain't getting in the water. Not anywhere near them, man. The gator's just sitting there. He said, I don't think he likes me big. He's seen 16 alligators. I'm not diving that river till winter. Your dime may be 12 dime if it's been there. Yeah, it could be. It could be. And my sandy soil is, and you know what I've noticed about that? Don't tread on me. I've noticed the generation machines that come out and get better on that particular dime. So when we had the Equinox 800, it was right at the edge of, maybe not. Manicore, ding dong, ding dong. DEUS 2, ding dong, ding dong. So I've watched the generations get better. So is there going to come a generation where that dime sounds like, yeah, it's getting better. So I remember everybody saying, oh, detectors, Past P. Let us know how that works out for you, because it will work out better. I promise you. Just try it. Does having the antenna connected help with it? Not that I've ever seen, Brian. I've not ever noticed it. What's going on, Johnny Bottles? What's up? But guys, I'm going to wrap it up, man. I've been running my mouth for 1 hour and 34 minutes. I can't believe it. I guess Sharpshooter's off squirrel hunting or something. I ain't seen him in here in a while, but I'll get up with you guys in a few days, or whenever something new comes out, and I hope that's very, very soon. We're going to really start focusing on these settings on the DEUS 2. That is my goal over the next few weeks, months, is to really lay these settings out there so everybody can start getting a good, start getting a good understanding of what these settings do. And I guess the best way I can do it is probably just start, showing them reactivity up, down, silencer up, down, and setting up scenarios for those. And then we can come up with a program. But this is what I'm going to say about that. We're not going to call it a program. We're going to call it a starting point for your detecting scenario. That's what we're going to start calling it. We're not going to call it the Calabash Relic program or that. We're just going to say it's a starting point for you, where you want to start at. And we will go from there. And that's the way we want to start looking at this, is starting points. It's a building block. And that's how we want to look at it. It's not an end-all, end-all. I guess that's what I want to get at. And to recap, for all you experienced DEUS users that are watching this, that thing that Mental Metal said about the reactivity is looking at it as sensitivity, or that's something that I got to remember that. Hey, I don't know yet, Lance. I don't know. It's according. I may dive early next week, but I'll try to get it popped back, especially if there's any news on that latest gadget, coming out here. We'll see what happened. I appreciate all you guys. The new core, we'll be paying attention. Yeah. I appreciate all. Hey, XP put something special in the new update. We shall see very, very soon. Yeah, we'll see. But you guys, I enjoyed it. Yeah, so 99 a coin cash, he says, could come in at 99. That's a good point. That's good. That's a good point. That's a good point, Sharpshooter. I appreciate all you guys, and I appreciate you joining in. Sorry I didn't have it more organized. There's so much information, and so much possibilities, or so many possibilities with this machine and configurations. I appreciate you, Berkshires. I appreciate you coming in here and all of us participating. I appreciate all you guys, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Just keep an eye out, and we'll try to get the information out just as fast as we can. You guys have a great night.